Bonjour. So if you're watching part 3 of direct object pronouns in French, it means you're really serious and you want to know how to use them. So this part of the lesson is going to be about using direct object pronouns in the Passé Composé. So this can be a little tricky. I'm going to make it really simple for you though. So let's go back to one of the first examples that I used in part 1 of this series, and that is when you want to say, he looks at Jennifer. I just use me as an example. He looks at Jennifer. Replace Jennifer with the direct object pronoun la, and then you say il la regarde, right? So that's the present tense. If you want to put this in the passé composé, you're going to still use the regular rules for putting he looked at in the passé composé, which would be il a regardé. What you're going to do with the direct object pronoun, which in this case is la, L-A, you're going to put it in front of the helping verb. In this case, it's avoir. And guess what? Anytime you're working with direct object pronouns in the passé composé, your helping verb will be avoir, even if sometimes it's those verbs that are on the list that use être as helping verb in the passé composé. When they have a direct object involved, you're still going to use avoir. So if you're putting il, la, regarde in the passé composé, you put your direct object pronoun la in front of the helping verb and it becomes il l'a regardé. So if you notice in the note that I wrote, there's an extra e en regarder. But you've maybe always been told in the passé composé, when avoir is your helping verb, you don't make agreement. This is the one thing that gets tricky when you're dealing with passé composé and direct object pronouns at the same time. When you have a pronoun, a direct object pronoun that is feminine, it's coming before the past participle. In this case, the past participle is regarder with an accent aigu over the e. You have to make agreement on that past participle with the direct object, or in this case the direct object pronoun, that comes before it. Since la is a feminine direct object pronoun, we're going to add an e. What if you had a sentence like il regarde Jennifer et Marc? So he looks at Jennifer and Mark. Jennifer and Mark are going to be the direct object, replaced by direct object pronoun les. In the present tense, il les regarde. In the passé composé, il les a regardés. Again, you're putting the direct object pronoun les in front of the helping verb, in front of avoir. Now you see in the note that I've written that there's an S on regarder, on the past participle regarder. Why? Because your preceding direct object pronoun is plural. It happens to be feminine and masculine, right? Because Jennifer and Mark. So you know the old rule that says if it's a mixed group, then you're just going to stick with the masculine. That's why we don't have to add an E and an S. However, if the sentence had been il regarde Jennifer et Julie, in that case, Jennifer and Julie are two feminine direct objects. The les will be feminine, and you'll write it in the passé composé. It will look like this. Il les a regardés. So now you notice there's an E and an S on the past participle regarder. If you have something simple like il regarde Marc, Marc is a singular direct object. It's masculine. You're going to replace it using le, L-E. Il le regarde. He looks at him. In the passé composé, il l'a regardé. Since the L apostrophe really means le, L-E, you're just taking off the E and adding an apostrophe since it's followed by a vowel, the vowel a, which is your helping verb. You know that le, L apostrophe, is masculine, so look at the past participle. Il l'a regardé. There's no agreement to be made. Singular, masculine, direct object pronoun, there's nothing to do. I hope that makes sense to you. Remember, from part 2, you also have sometimes direct object pronouns me, te, nous, and vous. If that's the case, if you want to say, he looks at me, remember the me is the direct object pronoun me. You're going to put it before the verb in the present tense, il me regarde. Now in this case, if you're writing it in the passé composé, it will be il m'a regardé. But you're going to have to know who the me is referring to. Is it a feminine direct object or is it a masculine direct object? If it's feminine, you need to write the passé composé form like this. Il m'a regardé with an extra I on regardé. Remember also that you're not making agreement with the subject. Il is masculine and it's singular, right? You're not making agreement with that because the old rule that says you don't make agreement on the past participle when avoir is your helping verb, that's true. You're not making agreement with the subject. However, you are making agreement with the direct object pronoun that comes before the past participle. So if I say il me regarde, since I'm feminine, I add the extra I. If I were Jules instead of Jennifer, I would be a guy. Il m'a regardé would not have an extra I on regarder. I hope it makes sense. The same rule applies to te, nous, and vous when they're being used as direct objects. So, il te regarde, he looks at you. Il t'a regardé. Whether or not you're going to add an I to regarder just depends on whether te is masculine or feminine. If you have a direct object pronoun like nous, il nous regarde, he looks at us in the present tense. In the passé composé, il nous a regardé. One thing is for sure, because nous is always plural, you're going to have to put an S on that past participle to make agreement with the plural direct object pronoun that precedes the past participle. If you have nous, and it happens to be referring to a group of feminine subjects, then you would have to add an ES, il nous a regardé, and that would be in a situation where I'm talking about myself and some other girl, Julie or whoever. Il nous a regardé, he looked at us, ES. If nous happens to be Marc and Jules, two guys, il nous a regardé, I have no other agreement to make than to add an S because nous is still plural. One more thing, vous, remember, vous can be singular or it can be plural. It can be masculine or it can be feminine. So you really have to look at the context. If you say, il vous regarde, he looks at you, you have to know, well, who are you? Are you two women? Are you two men? Are you a mixed group? Is it just one person that I'm just being formal with? You have to really look at the context of the vous. So, il vous a regardé can look like this. Il vous a regardé with no agreement. That would be when vous is singular and masculine. Il vous a regardé with an I added to regarder, and that would be when vous is referring to a singular direct object that's feminine. Or il vous a regardé with just an S, that would be when vous is being used as a plural direct object, but it's either a masculine group or a mixed masculine-feminine group. And one last thing, il vous a regardé can be with an E and an S as well, if the vous is referring to a feminine and plural direct object. I hope I didn't get myself mixed up on that. If I did, I'll write it in the notes. So what if you have a past participle that is not an ER verb? Let's say if you want to say, he saw me. In that case, I'll be using the verb voir. So he sees me, il me voit. What's the past participle of voir? It's vu, vu. So if he saw me, and me refers to me, Jennifer, it's feminine. The me is feminine. So Il m'a vu. It might look very strange to you, but you have to add an E to the vu. Same thing would be true. You would sometimes have to add an S or even an ES, just all depending on your direct object and whether it's singular, plural, masculine, or feminine. Voila, so I hope that helped you. Please don't hesitate to write some questions in the comments if you have any, and if you want to take some lessons with me, just click on the link that I've put there and come over to the Love Learning Languages website and we can set up something on Skype. Merci beaucoup et à très bientôt. Au revoir.